Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the War Room, and we're in the bunker. And this is going to be Guderian's Blitzkrieg #1. This is an OCS series. This is the first of its kind, and we're going to learn it as we go. So before we go into crazy mode here and start playing the game, we're going to go ahead and determine exactly what needs to be done, what the pieces are, and go from there. So the first thing we should probably do. Well, first of all, let me just show you what we got. We have Guderian's Blitzkrieg rules, and then we have the Operational Combat Series rules. So what we have to understand is there are two rules. You're going to get, whenever you buy a Operational Combat Series game, you're going to get the game rules, but also an updated version of the series rules themselves. Now, since this is the first OCS game, these rules are probably going to be the first version, like the first 1.0 of the game system. So some of the rules for like the veterans are going to see this and they're going to be like, okay, this is a lot different because this is old. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's get the series rules out of here for a second. All right. And let's set ourselves up for the first scenario. I'm really excited about this because I've been wanting to learn the system for a while. All right. So scene 1, or scenario 1, solitaire, mode and move. So we're going to learn how to move our guys around. The scenario is designed to allow players to learn the basic mode and movement rules without the additional distractions of combat. One should attempt to use all the available modes to see their effects and their interactions with one turn sequence. While this exercise may seem trivial to some, time spent here will be well spent when it comes time to ram your opponent onto the mat and make them scream for mercy. All right, so this game is asking us to set up 3 motorized units, which I did. And the way you know they're motorized is that they have little wheels on them. If you see the black infantry, this is like a cavalry, but underneath it, there's little wheels. Even if there's 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. If it has 1 wheel, it's semi-motorized. That's just the designation of it. Whereas 2 is fully motorized. So as long as you have a little wheel underneath the little infantry symbols or cavalry symbols, that is a motorized unit. So this scenario wants us to set up 3 of them, any but artillery and motorcycle units, within 2 spaces of B5-14. That's the hex, okay? We don't get any reinforcements this round. So let me just explain to you this map. This map's a little different than what I'm used to. Here's B5-15, okay? I believe it is. I can't see. Yes, B5-15. We can set up within 2 hexes of B5-15. All right. Not all the hexes are marked. This is just a grand scale of where everything's at. So here's B5-10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and it goes on like that. And you see that throughout all of your OCS games like that. So we're going to set our guys up on the road where they belong. I'm not worried about their movement segment yet. Okay, but I'm going to put them on the road where they can move freely. All right, and that is our setup. All right, so special rules. These are simulated attacks. The units must be adjacent to target hex in the combat phase. No special modifiers or terrain effects. Simply count up the combat strengths adjacent to the target at the time of the simulated attack. 1 or more attacking units may advance after combat to occupy the combat hex after the simulated combat is resolved. So that's your advance after combat we're talking about. All right, yep. Just like in Axis Empires, the German player must advance on Orel and make simulated attacks on hexes B14-17, B13-14, and or B15-17. So at least 2. 14-17 and then B13 or B15 along the way. German units may not enter these hexes until they have been attacked. All right, so now this section here is just telling me I can use Soviet artillery brigades simulated. I got those little things there. They're not attacking us back. The objective is here is that we win if we conduct simulated attacks on 2 of the 3 hexes above with at least 4 strength points and occupy Orel with an infantry regiment in combat mode at the end of the scenario, and yes, it can be done. I'm trying to figure out how that'll be done because that's a lot. That's a lot of guys there. So I guess I probably have to save. Maybe if I move my smaller unit here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. I can stack them too. I could technically stack all of these guys. So hold on, I'm sorry. I'm going to stack all those guys. So I have to get from here to there in one move. Don't know how that's going to work. And I believe I have everything set up properly the way it should be. Let me just go over my rules one more time. Yeah, B514. I'm at B514. So that's a distance, man. That's a good distance. And they say it has to be done in one turn. So we'll see. Hey, what's up, guys? So I want to go over really quickly the different chits in the game, okay? As you can see right here, this is what a typical unit would look like, okay? You have the unit size, which is listed here. For this example, the 2X represents a division, which is a decent-sized strength of force. You got your divisional affiliation, and then a name. If there's no circle, then you'll have a name for the unit. If there is a circle, that'll be the regimental equivalent size. And that's how you learn about stacking and units and such like that, okay? You have combat strength, which is here, okay, 20, and that which is a decent force. And then you have what's called the movement allowance, right? The 20 and the 3. Now the 4 is the action rating. We'll talk about that later. But 3, that's something we have to talk about. The combat and the 3, the 20 and the 3 we have to talk about, because when you flip over this chit, these change. You have 2 modes in this game. You have combat mode, you have movement mode, and then there's 2 more. There's a reserve mode and I think a strategic mode. I'd have to go over that. However, basically these modes will determine what your unit can do. Right now, this guy is pretty powerful, but he can't move very much. And if we flip him, he's not going to have a very good attack rating, but he'll have an awesome movement rating, right? And then depending on the color of that 3, if it's black, it's leg movement. So this is like your foot, they're on foot walking. Red means it's tracked. That's your armor and trucks and what have you, like your attack trucks, mechanized units. And then you have white, which means truck MPs. And these are like supply units or units that are, stacked onto trucks. Like this unit would probably be a white 3 if it flipped over, or that number, whatever the number would be on the backside, and it would signify that it's in trucks. And it just shows how vulnerable it is in combat if it were to get in combat in that move mode. So that's what these things mean. And in every OCS I've seen, there's a total legend about every single piece that you've got, from bicycle units to armored infantry and stuff like that. So it's important that if you do play OCS, go over all these units and kind of remember what these units are, their sizes and what have you. So before I start, I want to kind of explain stacking. So Axis Empires, it was 3 units, and you can't have more than 6 steps total. And this game is a little bit smaller of a range. These are 2.5 to 5 miles hexes, so it's very small. All right. So the stacking limits are, if you remember over here, we talked about the regimental equivalent sizes. Now these guys don't have circles around them, so they have special rules. Battalions only take up a half of a regimental equivalent, and a regiment takes up 1. So I have 2.5 regimental equivalents sitting in this hex. The max is 10. So you can see if you have smaller units, you can have a good stack going here. So in usual fashion, I forget, there is a terrain map here. And so if I use a road, all right, I forgot. If I'm using truck points or track, I get half. So each movement's only half of those points. So I get 36 movement points if I send my cavalry on the truck side, right? That's pretty decent. If I have a primary road, that's a third. That's even further. I don't know if there's a primary road. I'll take a look. I don't see one. I don't see one from over here. So that's going to be interesting. I think we could do this. All right, guys, so before we go through this operation and try to win the scenario, I had to scratch my head a few times because I wasn't too sure of how this game was going to allow me to move these guys with such little movement points halfway across the map. But I figured it out. It took a little while, but the scenario requires that I attack 2 of 3 of these X's. It's abstract. I need to bring 4 combat points, and then they're destroyed. But I have to get 1 infantry. I have a cavalry in there, but I have 2 infantry. I have to get 1 infantry from all the way here up to here. Okay, by the end of the turn. This is where I got confused. So 1 full turn in this game is I go through all of this. This isn't part of it, but so basically overphase is not used. We use some of these, all right? And then the second player would go, that would be the Russians that I'm fighting. But then there's a player turn 2. Repeat the player turn 1 sequence. We do it all over again, and then you end the turn. I'm like, in 1 turn, it was impossible. I tried so hard to figure out how to get these guys across the map, but if there's 2 turns in 1 turn, well, that makes more sense because then I can change my movement, all my stuff, do my mode determination. That gives me a second chance to do it. So, with that being said, now I know how to play this game. All right. Not bad for just a couple hours trying to figure it out. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is in the player turn 1 phase, that's for me. I don't have to worry about air units, but number C, or letter C, mode determination. All right. So I have a couple of units. I've already determined what I want them to do. I've got my cavalry unit on move mode. I've got the other infantry motorized in move mode, and I have 1 in combat. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do movement. So roads give me a half of a movement point for each. So I'm going to get 6 movement for this little guy. Half 1, half 2, half 3. No problems there. He's got 12, so he definitely has no problems going here. But I need 4 combat movement or combat points to defeat him because I cannot mix and match any of the attack points for these hexes. So this guy only has 1, which is perfect. And that'll be 4. Okay, so both units, or both sets of units have 4, so I can remove all of the opposition. Now they're all going to get what's called an exploitation marker. Now, I believe there's more to getting one of these. It's according to the dice roll, but I'm going to go with it just for the scenario that you're going to get one. We successfully killed the guy, so we're going to give him the exploitation marker. So this is now going to allow us, after combat, to move again. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off, and I will figure this out. Okay, so I parked the first one here. He was on combat mode, so he only went a little bit. The other guys were on their movement mode. I parked them outside. I could go all the way in here, but they have to be in combat mode. I need at least the infantry guy in combat mode. So we'll get that here in a second. So now that we're done with our exploitation movement, okay, clean up, we're going to do the second player. They would go through their segment. If I had anybody in reserve movement phase, I can release them and they can move. But I don't have that. None of them are in that situation right now. So then we go into a second turn. We do it all over again, right? And so I would do my mode determination, since it's a very simple round, right? And then do my movement. And that would be perfect. And that's how you get Orel, along with attacking 2 units in the first scenario of Guderian's Blitzkrieg. So in order to have won, you have to utilize your movement phase, or your mode determination.